Far to the north, the land stretches wide beneath an endless pale sky. The Ice Age world holds a cold stillness, broken only by the winds that sweep across the plains. Here, grasses bend under frost, and the air carries the scent of snow, even in summer. Across this open steppe, vast herds of animals move slowly, following the rhythm of seasons. Among them are mammoths, towering giants with curving tusks, their thick coats glowing faintly in the light of a low sun. Human groups also wander here, smaller figures against the immensity of the landscape. They carry no metals, only stone, bone, and wood shaped by hand. Each step on the frozen ground connects them to survival, for the land is harsh and unforgiving. Food is scarce outside the herds, and mammoths provide not only meat, but also shelter, fire fuel, and tools. To hunt them is both necessity and peril, an undertaking that binds communities together. The Pleistocene climate shapes every movement. Glaciers expand and retreat, locking water in ice, lowering seas, and opening new plains. Rivers cut through permafrost, creating ribbons of life where grasses grow thickest. It is along these watercourses that humans and mammoths both travel. For hunters, the rivers guide migrations, offering predictable routes to find prey. For mammoths, the rivers offer grass, water, and mud to cool their hides. Archaeologists trace these paths through fragments left in frozen soil, stone flakes from tool-making mark campsites, charcoal from ancient fires stains the earth dark. A mammoth bone, scored by cut marks, tells of butchery in the chill of early spring. In one site, footprints of both human and animal remain pressed side by side, frozen in mud that hardened into time. These traces reveal a story of coexistence, sometimes of pursuit, always of dependence. The size of the mammoth dominates human imagination. Standing more than 3 meters at the shoulder, weighing up to 6 tons, it towers over the hunters. Its tusks sweep outward, some curving longer than a man is tall. Its woolly coat ripples with every movement, a shield against cold. To approach such a creature requires more than courage. It requires knowledge, patience, and a shared plan. A lone human with stone spear cannot bring it down. Only through collective effort, strategy, and the shaping of the land itself can success be found. The mammoth steppe is not empty. Reindeer, bison, horses, and woolly rhinoceros graze alongside the giants. Predators, lions, hyenas, wolves prowl at the edges, each adapted to ice and wind. For humans, this abundance offers opportunity, but also danger. A lion's shadow may move silently behind the grasses, unseen until too late. Yet it is the mammoth that represents endurance. For with a single animal, a group may endure the long, cold months. One little-known detail lingers in the record. At some ancient sites, tusks have been found transported far from where the animals fell, sometimes over many kilometers, carried across valleys and ridges, whether for building shelters, carving tool, or ritual purposes. The effort marks the importance of mammoths beyond food alone. A tusk could frame the roof of a dwelling, or be shaped into spear points sharper than bone. Ivory holds stories not easily read, but deeply etched into the choices of survival. The cold world offers mysteries still unsolved. Did humans drive mammoths into icy rivers intentionally? Or were such deaths accidents claimed by nature? Some researchers argue for elaborate hunts using fire, traps, and coordinated drives. Others suggest that many mammoths were taken when weakened by ice, mud, or age. The truth may lie between these views, for evidence varies across sites. In some layers, scattered spear points surround mammoth remains. In others, bones lie in heaps, as if a herd once fell together in sudden misfortune. On the planetary scale, the Ice Age presses its weight on every life. Great ice sheets spread over continents, kilometers thick, pushing winds southward. As glaciers grow, seas recede, revealing new coasts and plains. These exposed lands connect continents, allowing humans to walk from Siberia toward the Americas, or from Asia toward new frontiers. The cold does not freeze time. It opens pathways, shifts rivers, and remakes worlds. Within these changes, humans learn to adapt, step by step, hunt by hunt. The distance covered by mammoth hunters is immense. A single group may move as far in 1 year as from today's Paris to Moscow, tracing rivers, chasing herds, carrying children, fire, and stone. Each move demands memory of where the grasses will be thickest, where the rivers freeze shallow, where the caves hold shelter. Knowledge passes between generations, carried in quiet words by firelight. This knowledge becomes as vital as stone blades, for without it, the plains would swallow them whole. The frozen plains echo with absence as much as presence. Silence stretches across kilometers, broken only by wind or the crack of ice. For hunters, each encounter with a mammoth is framed by this stillness. The animal's heavy breath steams in the cold air. Its massive form moves slowly, each step pressing deep tracks into the earth. Humans watch from distance, waiting, choosing the moment. Their survival depends on patience, for a false step may scatter the herd or invite destruction. Through these early steps into the Ice Age plains, humans begin a long story of adaptation. The hunt is not only about strength. It is about observing landscapes, reading seasons, and joining together in pursuit of life. The mammoth is both quarry and teacher, shaping the ways humans live, travel, and imagine. In the frozen stillness, each movement carries weight. Every spear point napped by hand holds the possibility of endurance. And every successful hunt binds community more deeply to the land and to one another. Across the Ice Age plains, the mammoth is more than an animal. It is an anchor of ecosystems, shaping the land wherever it moves. Tall grasses bend beneath its heavy steps, and shrubs vanish under its tusks. By feeding, trampling, and digging through snow, mammoths open paths for countless other species. The frozen steppe, stretching from Western Europe through Siberia and into North America, is a mammoth steppe, named not by chance, but by necessity. The mammoth's presence defines the world. It weighs several tons, stands higher than any predator, and carries tusks that curve like crescent moons. Its woolly coat shields it from piercing winds, while a thick layer of fat keeps warmth locked inside. Small ears reduce heat loss, a trait that sets it apart from its larger-eared elephant relatives in warmer lands. Each part of its body reflects adaptation to cold, a design shaped by millennia of ice and snow. To humans, mammoths embody both promise and danger. The meat of a single animal can sustain dozens of people for weeks. Its fat burns long and bright in stone lamps, a source of light and heat through endless winter nights. Its hide can be stretched for shelter, while tusks provide frames, ornaments, and tools. Yet to confront such a giant is to face great risk. A mammoth can crush a hunter with one step or scatter a group with sudden charge. It is not easily brought down nor easily forgotten. Archaeologists uncover signs of this immense role. In the frozen soils of Siberia, mammoth bones lie scattered in circles, suggesting that humans built dwellings from tusks and ribs. In Central Europe, mammoth bone huts appear near river valleys, their structures enduring thousands of years. Within them, fire hearths glow dark in the archaeological record, a reminder of warmth carved from the cold. At Mezhyrich in Ukraine, one such dwelling contains over 100 tusks, arranged with care to hold a roof of hides. Here, mammoths not only fed life, but sheltered it. The mammoth's dominance extends beyond human need. By uprooting trees and clearing shrubs, mammoths keep open the wide grasslands of the steppe. Without them, forests might creep back, reshaping the ecosystem entirely. This idea, known as keystone species influence, shows how their grazing sustained the very environment hunters depended on. Even today, researchers debate whether their disappearance helped turn grasslands into tundra, altering climate feedbacks at planetary scale. The mammoth, in life and in loss, leaves marks far larger than its size. One lesser-known detail rests in the study of their tusks. Tusks grow in layers, year by year, like the rings of a tree. By cutting a tusk lengthwise, scientists read seasonal changes in the animal's life. Some tusks reveal long migrations, hundreds of kilometers across valleys and mountains. Others show stress, lines of hunger or illness etched into ivory. From these silent records, the rhythm of the Ice Age steppe emerges. Humans, following the same paths, learned to anticipate where herds would be found each season. Still, many mysteries surround the mammoth. Were their herds tightly knit like modern elephants, led by matriarchs who remembered waterholes and past routes? Or were they looser gatherings, spread thin across vast grasslands, joining and parting with the seasons? Fossil sites show clusters of bones, sometimes entire groups preserved together. Yet whether these represent natural deaths in storms or close social bonds remains unresolved. What is clear is that humans adapted to whichever patterns existed, weaving mammoth lives into their own survival strategies. Planetary forces shaped the mammoth's range. As glaciers locked water in ice, sea levels dropped by more than 100 meters. Dry land bridges connected continents, Siberia to Alaska, Britain to Europe, Sunda to mainland Asia. Across these bridges, mammoths spread, grazing wherever grasses found root. Their world stretched across half the planet, from the Atlantic coasts to the Yukon valleys. Few creatures have commanded such territory, and few have left so wide a trail of bones and memory. For humans, this range offered opportunity and challenge. To follow mammoths meant long journeys, sometimes greater than today's march from Rome to Tehran. The plains seemed endless, yet knowledge passed across generations gave them shape. Hunters remembered which valleys held grazing in late summer, where snow crusts grew thin in early spring, and where rivers froze shallow enough to cross. This memory matched the mammoth's own, for animals and humans alike carried maps within their minds. Such parallel lives linked them, predator and prey bound to the same steppe. The scale of mammoths still astonishes. A full-grown male could weigh more than 6 tons. Its heart pumped with force enough to drive warmth through the coldest nights. Its tusks, some over 4 meters long, curled with graceful arcs that reflected both age and status. These tusks were tools as well as weapons, clearing snow, stripping bark, or clashing with rivals. To humans, tusks became objects of use and symbol, carved into figurines, beads, or etched with patterns whose meanings are lost. Even in fragments, ivory carried value, traded across distances of hundreds of kilometers. At some sites, mammoth bones lie stacked together in strange arrangements. Scholars debate whether these piles are simply the remains of repeated hunts, or whether they hold ritual meaning. Did humans gather bones deliberately, shaping circles or lines as markers of memory? Or are such patterns accidents of rivers and floods, collecting remains over centuries? The debate endures, but certainty is rare in deep time. But the idea that mammoths were more than food, that they entered the realm of story and symbol, remains compelling. In the imagination of Ice Age people, the mammoth may have stood as both ancestor and adversary. Cave paintings show them with sweeping tusks, sometimes surrounded by lines that may represent spears. Tiny carvings from mammoth ivory depict animals in motion, legs bent, trunks curled. Such art suggests respect as well as reliance. To carve the mammoth into ivory is to hold its likeness in hand, a way of preserving presence even when herds moved away. The mammoth step was a shared stage. Humans walked upon it with tools of stone and bone. Mammoths moved across it with slow power, feeding and shaping the land. Each depended on the other, though not in equal ways. Without mammoths, humans faced hunger, cold, and loss of material. Without humans, mammoths still commanded the plains until climate and time shifted against them. Together, they formed a relationship that defined Ice Age life. A quiet struggle stretched over millennia. As the low sun casts long shadows over frozen grass, the mammoth stands at the horizon. Its breath rises in clouds, each exhale a reminder of warmth in a cold world. Hunters watch, silent, knowing that their lives turn on this animal's path. The mammoth is master of the steppe, not by dominance alone, but by the way its presence shapes every creature that walks the land. In its shadow, humans learn endurance, adaptation, and the fragile balance of survival on the edge of ice. When the light fades across the Ice Age plains, people gather close to fire. The flames flicker against mammoth bone frames and hides stretched for shelter. In that glow, tools lie scattered on the ground, shards of flint, long bones cut clean, ivory worked to points. Every object is the result of care, skill, and tradition. For in a world without metal, survival depends on stone, bone, and firelight. The most common resource is flint, a stone found in nodules along riverbeds or cliffs. When struck at the right angle, it breaks with sharp edges finer than glass. Hunters chip away at it, flake by flake, shaping spearheads and knives. The process is slow and deliberate. One false strike, and a tool may break in half, wasting precious stone. Yet in skilled hands, flint becomes razor-sharp blades, capable of slicing through hide and sinew. It is no wonder archaeologists find countless flakes at ancient campsites, evidence of constant tool-making. Other stones play their part too. Obsidian, rare but valued, carries a sheen like dark ice, sharper than even flint. Chert and quartz are also used where available. Each group relies on what their landscapes offer, and the diversity of stone tools reveals trade and travel. At some sites, stone has been carried hundreds of kilometers from its source. This suggests not only journeys but connections between groups, sharing resources in a web of survival. Bone becomes another foundation. Long mammoth bones, hard yet workable, are carved into points for spears. Ribs are sharpened into blades, and antlers become sturdy handles. Ivory, softer to carve, allows intricate shaping, needles with tiny eyes, or spear tips polished to resilience. A single mammoth carcass yields material for dozens of tools, extending far beyond the hunt itself. In many cases, ivory points survive where stone ones have broken, a testament to their value. One remarkable detail lies in the discovery of bone flutes. Carved from the wing bones of birds or from mammoth ivory, these instruments carry notes across campfires. Whether for ritual, play, or communication, they reveal that early humans shaped sound alongside tools of survival. The same skills used to pierce a hide or carve a spear also created music, weaving practicality and expression together. To sit in the glow of firelight and hear tones drift through the cold night is to understand that life held more than struggle. Yet many mysteries remain. How did humans discover the precise heat needed to harden wooden spears by fire? Charred tips found at ancient sites suggest this technique was known tens of thousands of years ago. But the exact process, how they controlled flames, how they judged temperature, cannot be fully reconstructed. Similarly, the use of adhesives, such as birch tar to bind stone to wood, raises questions. Making tar requires heating bark in low oxygen conditions, a complex task even with modern tools. That it was achieved with Ice Age technology speaks to deep experimentation and shared knowledge. Firelight itself is a tool beyond measure. It warms bodies, cooks meat, and hardens spear points. It keeps predators at bay, for even lions and hyenas hesitate before a ring of flames. Charcoal stains in the ground show where fires once burned long into the night. At some campsites, layers of ash reveal centuries of use, one fire replaced by another, marking continuity across generations. The smell of smoke would have been as familiar then as it is now, a constant companion of human life. At planetary scale, but the mastery of fire shifts humanity's place in ecosystems. It allows cooking, unlocking nutrients in meat and plants. It extends waking hours, for stories and planning continue by firelight when the sun is gone. It shapes landscapes, as groups may burn patches of grass to draw grazing animals. Even ice and darkness cannot fully confine those who command fire. In this way, stone, bone, and flame together expand the boundaries of survival. Consider the scale of time in these practices. A flint blade, carefully knapped, may last for months. A mammoth bone spear point may endure for years. A fire, tended through the night, may burn for only hours before being replaced. Yet across tens of thousands of years, these tools accumulate, forming traditions older than memory. The same methods are passed from one generation to the next, their repetition marking continuity in a shifting world. Archaeological finds add to this picture. In Germany, wooden spears more than 300,000 years old were discovered, sharpened and balanced for throwing. In Russia, a site reveals long ivory points from mammoth tusks, shaped with precision. In France, bone needles with drilled eyes show that hides were stitched into fitted garments. Each artifact reveals both utility and innovation. Together, they demonstrate that technology is not sudden, but gradual, refined step by step under firelight. One lesser-known case lies in the discovery of tiny flint blades, called microliths. These small, sharp fragments were set into wooden shafts, forming composite tools. Instead of a single large spearhead, hunters used rows of small blades, creating edges that could be replaced when broken. This design shows flexibility, an understanding of repair and efficiency. Such tools may seem simple, yet they reflect deep ingenuity. A microlith small enough to balance on a fingertip could decide the success of a hunt. The mysteries of symbolism also enter here. Some carved bones carry lines or notches too regular to be accidental. Were they tallies, marking days or hunts? Were they decoration or reminders of events? The meaning is lost, but the intent is clear. Humans shaped materials not only for survival, but also for thought. The same hand that knapped flint also scratched marks into bone, hinting at minds already searching for patterns. The world of the mammoth steppe is harsh, yet within it tools create possibilities. Without stone edges, hides cannot be cut. Without bone awls, garments cannot be stitched. Without fire, the cold night consumes. Each object reflects knowledge of land, animal, and element. The steppe does not yield easily, yet human hands, guided by memory and firelight, find ways to endure. Imagine the scene. A circle of hunters sits within a shelter framed by tusks. Flames crackle, smoke drifts upward, sparks rise and vanish. One person shapes flint with steady strikes, another scrapes fat from bone to burn as fuel. A third threads sinew through a bone needle, stitching hide into a garment. Together, their tasks weave survival. The night is long, the cold deep, but the fire holds, and the tools grow ready for hunts to come. In the quiet glow, the meaning of stone, bone, and firelight becomes clear. They are more than materials. They are extensions of human skill, memory, and adaptation. They are answers to the challenges of a frozen world. And they are the foundation upon which later ages will build, long before metal gleams in human hands. Across the Ice Age plains, the rhythm of life follows the herds. Mammoths, reindeer, horses, and bison move across thousands of kilometers, chasing grass and water as seasons shift. Humans, small in number but enduring in will, walk in their footsteps. They do not remain fixed in one place. To survive, they must move with the animals, for where the herds go. Food, shelter, and material follow. The mammoth herds migrate with patience. In spring, they head northward toward fresh grasses revealed by melting snow. In summer, they graze along river valleys, where water is abundant and breezes keep insects at bay. In autumn, they turn south again, away from freezing winds and dwindling plants. Through winter, they gather in sheltered basins or near forests, feeding on stored fat and digging through snow for hidden grasses. Each cycle repeats, year after year, a living clock on the frozen plains. Humans learn these cycles with care. Generations watch the herds move, noting landmarks, rivers, and the timing of growth. This knowledge passes between elders and children, told around firelight, remembered in the rhythm of steps. By following the herds, humans ensure their own survival. But the path is never simple. Blizzards can delay migrations. Rivers swell with meltwater, cutting off routes. Ice storms cover grass in crust, too thick to break.
At such moment, hunters must adapt, finding new paths or new prey.
Archaeological sites record these journeys. Stone tools appear in layers across wide regions, showing that groups did not stay bound to a single valley. Charcoal deposits line ancient riverbanks, marking camps used only in certain seasons. At sites in Central Europe, mammoth bones cluster in patterns suggesting repeated hunts during migration stops. In Siberia, shelters of bone and hide appear in places where herds would have rested in winter. Each trace shows humans not wandering blindly, but moving with purpose, guided by memory and observation. One lesser-known detail lies in the discovery of caches. Hunters sometimes buried tools, blades, or tusks in the ground, returning months later to retrieve them. Such caches, found in frozen soils, reveal foresight. By leaving supplies along migration routes, groups prepared for the seasons to come. This practice shows trust in memory and coordination. For survival meant remembering not just where the herds would be, but where human hands had hidden tools against the earth. Mysteries remain about the scale of these movements. Did small groups follow herds across entire continents? Or did knowledge pass between different bands, each controlling their own territory? Some researchers argue that humans formed wide networks, exchanging information and resources across great distances. Others believe groups remained local, learning only the routes of their own valleys and rivers. Evidence points both ways. Stone from far-off quarries sits beside local bone tools, suggesting both long travel and local craft. The truth may lie in a mix of patterns, some groups roaming far, others remaining near known shelters. On the planetary scale, migrations tie humanity to climate. Glaciers expand and contract, shifting winds and rainfall. When ice grows, the steppe widens, offering vast pastures. When ice retreats, forests spread northward, closing old routes. Sea levels rise and fall, exposing land bridges one millennium and drowning them the next. These changes guide the paths of mammoths, and with them, the steps of humans.
It is not only animal flesh that shapes the journey, but the breathing of the earth itself.
The distances traveled are immense. From spring camps near the Carpathian Mountains to autumn camps in open steppes, the route may stretch farther than from Paris to Warsaw. From Siberia's valleys to the edges of the Arctic coast, herds may travel as far as today's march from Beijing to Hanoi. Humans, carrying children, fire, and stone, match these distances at a slower pace, moving step by step, season by season. What seems vast in one lifetime becomes familiar when repeated across generations. The challenges of migration are constant. Crossing rivers swollen by meltwater risks loss of tools and lives. Crossing mountain passes means storms and sudden snow. Predators follow herds too, and humans may find themselves shadowed not only by wolves, but by lions and hyenas waiting for weakness. Yet the rewards are worth the risk. A mammoth taken in autumn provides meat and fat enough to endure winter. A reindeer herd encountered in spring renews supplies of hides for clothing. Each season offers its gift, but only to those who walk the right path at the right time. One striking site in Spain preserves footprints in hardened mud. Dozens of steps from humans, children included, mingle with tracks of mammoths and horses. This snapshot captures a moment when both species walked the same ground, perhaps following the same route across wetlands. Such rare evidence shows the closeness of paths, the shared reliance on the same landscapes. Though hunters sought the mammoth as prey, Both were travelers on the same seasonal roads. Among the mysteries, one question endures. Did humans ever guide herds deliberately into migration traps? Some evidence suggests groups may have used ravines or steep slopes to funnel animals. Others argue that humans only intercepted predictable routes. Striking, when herds paused to graze or rest. The debate continues, for archaeology rarely preserves full scenes of movement. What is clear is that timing mattered. A hunt too early, before herds gathered, wasted energy.
A hunt too late, after herds moved on, meant hunger. The success of migration followed the precision of observation.
Fire travels with the herds too. At each camp, new flames are lit or embers carried from the last hearth. Smoke rises into the air, a signal that humans still walk the land. The fire cooks the meat of smaller animals caught along the way. It warms weary hunters after long marches. It keeps predators away from sleeping children. In the endless movement of migration, fire is the one constant, the companion carried across valleys and seasons. Imagine a band of hunters moving south as autumn deepens. The grasses fade, winds sharpen, and herds of mammoths drift toward low valleys. Behind them, humans walk steadily, burdened with tools, hides, and memory. They know the rivers ahead, the shelters where mammoth bones frame roofs, the caches buried months before. Step by step, they trace the old paths, for in following the herds, they also follow the footsteps of their ancestors. The cycle is unbroken, carried not by chance but by deep rhythm, a rhythm that echoes with the earth itself. In this way, human life of the Ice Age is never still. It flows with the migrations, with rivers, with grasses, with the low sun that arcs differently each season. To follow the herds is to remain alive. It is to walk not only across land, but across time. And in each cycle, stone tools, bone shelters, and firelight continue their quiet role, sustaining the journey until the herds return once again. On the open plain, no single hunter can face a mammoth. The animal towers too high, weighs too much, and moves with force enough to scatter even the bravest individual. To bring such a creature down, humans must rely on one another. It is cooperation that transforms fragile beings with stone-tipped spears into hunters capable of meeting giants. In every known culture of the Ice Age, survival rests on shared effort. Firewood is gathered together, hides are stitched by many hands, and food is divided among all who need it. Hunting mammoths demands this same principle, magnified 100-fold. One person may knap the flint, another may shape the spear shaft, while others prepare bindings of sinew. When the moment of the hunt arrives, each role aligns. Drivers push the herd, flankers block escape, and spear throwers deliver the strike. Without this coordination, the hunt fails, and failure in winter can mean hunger for all. Archaeological evidence supports this story of unity. At Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic, remains of dozens of mammoths lie clustered in a single site. Cut marks on bones, along with broken spear points, suggest organized hunts rather than chance discoveries of carcasses. Nearby, living spaces contain hearths and tools, showing that large groups gathered there seasonally, likely for the purpose of communal hunting. Such sites reveal cooperation not only within a single band, but across several groups that join together. Cooperation is not limited to adults. Footprints preserved in ancient mud show the presence of children among mammoth paths. Some prints suggest youngsters helped carry loads or gather material, learning through participation. Elders, too, contribute by sharing knowledge. When herds migrate, where rivers freeze shallow, how to strike bone without breaking a blade. The hunt, therefore, is not only the act of killing, but the weaving of generations into one task. Each person, from youngest to oldest, plays a part in survival. A lesser-known detail emerges from studies of mammoth bone dwellings. In several sites, tusks and ribs were arranged in careful circles, too large for a single family to raise alone. The construction required many hands, lifting, placing, binding. This suggests that cooperation extended beyond the hunt itself, into the building of shelters where warmth could be preserved against the cold winds. The very walls of these dwellings speak of shared labor, the visible outcome of collective strength. Yet mysteries remain about how hunters coordinated their actions. Did they use spoken language detailed enough to plan strategies? Or did they rely on gestures, rhythms, and experience passed wordlessly? Some archaeologists argue that language must have been advanced by this time, for such hunts required precise timing. Others caution that cooperation can exist with limited words, relying instead on signals, trust, and repetition. The truth is uncertain, for sound leaves no fossil. No. But the mammoth bones lying in heaps suggest that whatever form communication took, it was effective. On the planetary scale, cooperation shapes humanity's ability to spread across continents. Where lone predators remain tied to one region, humans, through sharing and planning, push into new territories. Together they cross frozen rivers, survive storms, and pass knowledge of distant valleys. One band alone may struggle to survive a harsh winter, but several bands joining together can pool food, fire, and shelter. This principle becomes a force as great as climate, enabling fragile beings to thrive where conditions should deny them. The scale of coordination is remarkable. To surround a mammoth, hunters may stretch across a space wider than today's sports field, each person holding steady in position until the signal comes. To drive the herd toward a ravine, they may spread along a line as long as a modern city street. Distances that seem daunting are bridged by shared intent. In such moments, the individual is less visible, absorbed into the movement of the group. The herd faces not scattered hunters, but a net of human will. Evidence of repeated hunts suggests tradition. At some kill sites, layers of bones from different years lie one atop another. This indicates not chance, but deliberate return, a ritual of cooperation passed down through generations. Each year, groups may gather in the same valleys, renewing bonds, sharing food, and preparing together for the dangerous task. In this sense, cooperation also creates culture. The hunt becomes not only survival, but an event that shapes identity, binding communities through shared action. One striking find comes from La Côte de Saint-Brelade on Jersey Island. Here, mammoth bones were discovered at the base of a steep cliff. Some researchers believe hunters drove animals over the edge, coordinating movements to trap them. If true, this represents extraordinary cooperation, as dozens of people would have needed to act in unison. Others argue that natural processes may have caused the accumulation. The debate remains unresolved, but the possibility itself shows the scale of cooperation humans were capable of imagining. Fire plays a role in this coordination. Torches may have been used to drive herds, flames flickering in the night to funnel animals toward chosen ground. Smoke may have confused mammoths, slowing their movements. In such strategies, cooperation extends to the manipulation of the environment. Humans joining forces not only with each other but with fire itself. Every element is drawn into the circle of survival. The benefits of cooperation extend beyond hunting. Food shared after a successful kill strengthens bonds. Those who cannot hunt, infants, elders, the injured, are still fed, ensuring the continuity of knowledge and care. This sharing, visible in cut-marked bones distributed across living sites, distinguishes humans from many predators. It is not only the act of hunting together, but the act of eating together that cements community. Each mouthful becomes proof that cooperation sustains life.
Imagine a winter evening after a hunt. The mammoth has fallen, and its meat is divided. Around the fire, families gather, warming hands, repairing tools, and speaking in low voices. Children gnaw marrow bones, while adults plan the next move of the herd. No single person claims the kill. It belongs to all. The success of the hunt is not measured in spears thrown, but in survival shared. Here, in the glow of firelight, cooperation reveals its power most clearly.
The Ice Age is unforgiving. Storms sweep across the steppe. Predators linger in shadows, and hunger waits at the edge of every season. Yet through cooperation, humans endure. They turn weakness into strength, small numbers into coordinated force, fleeting lives into lasting traditions. The mammoth may be master of the steppe, but humans, by standing together, find a way to meet the giant on its own ground. Thus, the power of cooperation is not only practical, it is the quiet strength that defines humanity, a thread linking families, bands, and generations. Without it, the mammoth would remain unchallenged. With it, fragile beings of stone and fire find a place on the frozen plains. On the wide plains, hunters know that strength alone cannot stop a mammoth. The animals are too large, too quick to defend themselves, and too dangerous to approach without care. To succeed, humans must turn the land itself into a partner. Ravines, marshes, rivers, and snow become hidden allies, shaping strategies older than memory. In a world without metal, nature provides the barriers that allow hunters to close in. Ravines are among the most effective trap. Steep cliffs and narrow gullies cut across the plains, invisible until one stands at their edge. Hunters may drive mammoths toward these drops using noise, fire, or coordinated movements. Once near the edge, the animals struggle to turn, their great weight working against them. Archaeologists at La Côte de Saint-Brelade, on the island of Jersey, found deep deposits of mammoth bones at the base of a cliff. Some believe herds were driven deliberately over the edge. Whether accident or strategy, the site shows how geography could decide the outcome of a hunt.
Marshes and bogs also serve as traps. During thawing seasons, the ground softens under the weight of snowmelt. Mammoths crossing such areas may sink, their massive feet caught in mud too deep to escape. For hunters, this moment offers rare opportunity. Stuck animals move slowly, unable to charge or flee. Spears thrown from safe distance can strike again and again, gradually weakening the giant.
At sites in Eastern Europe, bones of mammoths preserved in waterlogged layers suggest such events were common. Whether hunters guided animals toward these grounds or simply seized chance, the marsh became a silent trap.
Rivers, too, play their role. In spring, meltwater floods valleys, cutting channels of swift current. Mammoths wading across may stumble, their weight carried off balance. If a herd crosses in panic, calves and weaker adults can be swept downstream. Hunters waiting nearby may strike when animals climb the banks, exhausted from the struggle. Evidence from Siberia shows mammoth bones deposited along river margins, mixed with human tools, suggesting close interaction at these crossings.
Water, though dangerous to humans as well, becomes part of the strategy. Snow and ice create traps of their own. In harsh winters, ice forms crusts on snowfields. Lighter animals may walk across, but mammoths, heavy and slow, break through. Each step sinks deep, draining strength and slowing escape. Hunters, lighter on their feet, can close in with spears, circling a struggling animal. This technique, while risky, turns climate itself into a hunting tool. Archaeological traces of winter camps near valleys hint that groups position themselves where such events could be anticipated. One lesser-known detail comes from discoveries of pits dug into permafrost. At some sites in Eastern Europe, circular holes filled with stakes have been identified. Scholars debate their purpose. Were they storage pits, shelters, or traps for large animals? If used for hunting, such pits required immense labor, carving into frozen earth with stone tools. The possibility of deliberate construction shows that humans not only used natural traps but sometimes built their own, shaping the land into an extension of their will.
Yet mysteries remain. How often did humans truly control these hunts? And how often did they simply exploit accidents of nature? Some mammoth bones show signs of butchery on animals that may already have been weakened by illness, by age, or by natural entrapment. Others appear in clusters too dense to be explained by chance alone.
The debate continues. Were mammoths victims of planned drives, or did humans often wait for nature to create weakness first? The answer may vary across time and place, reflecting both deliberate strategy and opportunism. At planetary scale, traps and barriers reflect the shifting power of climate. When glaciers advance, valleys deepen, rivers swell, and marshes spread across lowlands. When ice retreats, grasslands widen, and barriers vanish. Humans, bound to these changes, adapt their hunts to each stage. The Ice Age landscape is not fixed. It breathes, shifts, and reshapes itself. Each new form offers hunters new possibilities, and mammoths face challenges as vast as the cold itself. The distances involved in driving animals are striking. To funnel a herd toward a ravine may require hunters to spread across a line wider than today's village. To guide them into marshes, groups may circle from kilometers away, pressing gradually until the animals have no escape. The scale of movement is immense, demanding not only numbers but patience. Such efforts may last hours or even days, with humans shadowing the herd until the terrain aligns with their intent. Evidence of these efforts appears in kill sites where dozens of animals lie together. At some locations, bones of mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses are piled in concentrated layers, far more than a single family could consume. This suggests organized drives involving many hunters, far larger than ordinary subsistence required. Perhaps such hunts were seasonal gatherings, where multiple groups joined forces, taking advantage of natural barriers to secure immense amounts of meat and material. The scale of these hunts hints at cooperation extending beyond survival into social and cultural realms. Fire becomes part of these strategies as well. Smoke can drive animals away from open grass and toward chosen paths. At night, torches may create moving walls of light, steering mammoths toward river crossings or narrow gullies. Though direct evidence of such drives is rare, the control of fire by this time makes the idea plausible. Fire, combined with terrain, turns fragile hunters into orchestrators of the landscape. Imagine a band waiting near a frozen river in early spring. The ice groans under the weight of passing mammoths. Cracks spread across the surface, water rising through seams. Hunters watch, silent, until one animal stumbles and falls. The moment arrives. Spears are raised, voices call, and the land itself has trapped the giant. For the hunters, success lies not in strength, but in recognizing the weakness already present in earth and water. The Ice Age plains teach that survival is not a contest of force. It is a contest of observation, patience, and the use of barriers that nature already offers. Ravines, marshes, rivers, snow, all become part of the hunt. Each hunt is therefore not just against an animal, but in partnership with the land. This relationship between human strategy and natural terrain is one of the oldest forms of technology, long before metal, long before cities. Thus, the traps and natural barriers of the steppe stand as silent allies. They remind us that survival depended not only on tools in hand but on landscapes underfoot, in shaping hunts around ravines, rivers, and marshes. Humans learned to read the land as carefully as they shaped flint, and in doing so, they found ways to meet the mammoth on ground where even giants could fall. On the Ice Age plains, tools are simple yet decisive. Among them, the spear stands foremost, shaped from wood, tipped with stone, bone, or ivory. It is the weapon that bridges the distance between fragile humans and the massive mammoth. The throw of the spear is not only a gesture of hunting, it is a moment where survival rests on skill, coordination, and timing. The spear's design reflects patient craft. Straight branches are selected, often from willow or spruce, shaped with fire and stone scrapers. The shafts are hardened by heat, held above embers until the wood strengthens without burning. At one end, a point is fitted, sometimes carved directly into the shaft, sometimes bound with sinew and resin. Stone spearheads, flaked into sharp triangles, offer cutting power. Ivory tips, carved from mammoth tusk, provide durability. Each variation adapts to what the land provides. Archaeological discoveries reveal the sophistication of these weapons. At Schöningen in Germany, wooden spears more than 300,000 years old were found, balanced and shaped for throwing. Their symmetry shows that Ice Age hunters understood weight, center, and flight long before metal. Later, in the Upper Paleolithic, stone-tipped spears became common, often accompanied by carved throwing aids. These artifacts speak of long traditions, passed down through generations, honed by practice under firelight. The act of throwing a spear is more than strength. It requires precision, timing, and cooperation. A lone throw cannot bring down a mammoth. But when dozens of hunters hurl spears together, the effect multiplies. Each strike may wound, slow, or weaken. Gradually, the giant loses strength, and the balance shifts. The hunt becomes not a single blow, but a storm of points, each one a thread in the net that surrounds the animal. One lesser-known detail lies in the use of the atlatl, or spear thrower. This simple device, a carved stick with a notch at one end, extends the arm's reach. It increases leverage, allowing spears to fly farther and strike harder. Some of the earliest known examples, carved from ivory and antler, date back more than 20,000 years, decorated with animal shapes. They reveal that function and symbolism often intertwined. With the atlatl, hunters could stand farther from danger, hurling spears with greater force, tipping the balance further in their favor. Mysteries remain about how early this technology spread. Did all Ice Age groups use spear throwers, or only some regions? Archaeological evidence is uneven, for wood and sinew rarely survive. In some areas, spear points suggest use with throwing aids, while in others, only thrusting spears appear. Perhaps both methods coexisted, some hunters striking at close range, others hurling from afar. The precise history is uncertain, but the principle is clear. The throw of the spear evolves with time, reflecting both necessity and innovation. A planetary scale, this weapon alters humanity's place in ecosystems. Where predators rely on teeth and claws, humans extend their reach with sharpened shafts. Distance becomes safety, and safety allows risk. Mammoths, once unchallenged, now face persistent hunters armed with coordinated throws. Other animals, too, reindeer, horses, bison, fall to these weapons. The spread of humans into colder and harsher regions owes much to this single act, the throw of the spear across open ground. The scale of these throws is striking. Tests with replicas show that skilled hunters can send spears over 30 meters with an atlatl, or more than 20 meters by hand. Imagine dozens of such weapons arcing through the air, striking a mammoth's side, legs, or shoulders, even if only a fraction hit. The effect is cumulative. Step by step, wound by wound, the great animal slows. The distance bridged by these weapons equals the width of rivers or the length of a valley slope. In such moments, fragile beings reach across space to meet giants. Archaeological sites preserve the marks of these encounters. Stone points embedded in mammoth bones tell of direct strikes. Cut marks on ribs and vertebrae reveal where spears pierced deep. At one Siberian site, a mammoth tusk bears the embedded tip of a spear, frozen in ivory for thousands of years. Such finds are rare, but each offers a glimpse of the hunt itself, a frozen moment of impact. They remind us that behind the tools, there were hands, arms, and eyes focused on survival. The spear also shapes daily life beyond the hunt. It serves in defense against predators, keeping wolves or lions at bay. It acts as walking staff during long migrations, steadying steps across snow and ice. Its presence by the firelight is constant, leaned against shelters or resting near sleepers. Children learn early to shape miniature versions, practicing throws at targets of snow or bone. By the time they grow, the motion is second nature, a rhythm of survival ingrained in muscle and memory. One lesser-known aspect is the symbolic carving on some spear throwers. Figures of horses, birds, or mammoths appear etched into ivory handles, whether for luck, ritual, or teaching. These decorations show that tools carried meaning beyond function. To hold a spear is not only to grasp wood and stone, but to touch memory, story, and belief. In this way, the throw of the spear is both practical act and symbolic gesture, part of the culture as much as the hunt. Mysteries also surround the social role of the hunt. Who held the first spear in a drive? Did elders direct, or did younger hunters take the front? Some suggest roles rotated, spreading risk across the group. Others believe skill determined place, with the most accurate throwers standing closest. Archaeology offers few answers, yet the very success of such hunts proves that roles were balanced enough to ensure survival across centuries. Imagine the scene of a hunt. Hunters spread across a valley, silent in the frost. The mammoth herd moves slowly, unaware of the net forming around them. At a signal, perhaps a shout, perhaps the flicker of a torch, spears rise. One after another, they fly, cutting arcs through the air. The sound of impact echoes, wood striking hide, stone biting flesh. The mammoth bellows, the ground shakes, but the rain of spears continues. Distance shrinks danger, and together the hunters press until the giant falters. In the quiet afterward, the spears are gathered, broken tips are replaced, shafts repaired by firelight. Children watch, learning by imitation, while elders explain which strikes mattered most. The hunt becomes a lesson as well as a meal, knowledge passed into the next cycle. Each throw is therefore more than survival. It is a thread linking past to future, binding generations in the rhythm of the spear. Thus, the throw of the spear embodies a turning point in human history. It represents the moment when fragile beings stretched their reach, turning distance into power. It shows cooperation in action, many hands joining to cast together. It marks the blending of craft, observation, and courage, all focused into a single motion. On the plains of the Ice Age, where mammoths once ruled, the arc of the spear becomes humanity's quiet answer to giants. As daylight fades across the Ice Age plains, shadows lengthen over snow and grass, the cold deepens, and silence spreads until only the wind remains. In this stillness, fire comes alive. Its glow flickers against mammoth bone shelters, sending sparks into the darkness. Around the flames, people gather, for fire is not only warmth, but protection, strategy, and survival. To hunt mammoths, fire becomes more than comfort. It is a tool that shapes movement, guiding giants where hunters cannot. Flames, smoke, and glowing embers carry power across the open steppe. Predators fear it, prey respond to it, and humans learn to wield it with care. At the edge of night, when darkness thickens, fire extends human presence into the unseen. The control of fire has deep roots. Evidence from caves in South Africa shows burned bone and ash dating back hundreds of thousands of years. By the time humans face mammoths on the frozen plains, they have long mastered its use. Fires are built with gathered wood, dried grasses, or even dung when trees are scarce. Stones ring the flames, keeping sparks contained against winds. Some groups carry embers wrapped in bark or moss, transporting fire across days of travel. The continuity of flame ensures that warmth never fully dies. In hunting, fire takes on a new role. Torches are crafted from resin-soaked wood, their flames lasting long enough for drives. At night, hunters may spread in lines, waving fire to funnel mammoths toward gullies or rivers. Smoke confuses animals, dulling their senses, making them hesitate or turn. The sight of flames in darkness unsettles, shifting herds where spears alone cannot. Though direct archaeological traces are rare, the knowledge of fire's use in herding smaller animals suggests its extension to mammoth hunts. A lesser-known detail comes from the discovery of scorched soil near mammoth kill sites. In some places, layers of burned earth lie beside concentrations of bones. This hints at controlled fires set deliberately, perhaps to direct herds or to prepare ground for butchery. Whether these flames drove animals or simply cleared brush, the evidence shows humans altering the landscape with fire, extending their influence beyond tools in hand. Still, mysteries endure. How did hunters prevent fire from spreading uncontrolled across dry steppe? Did they manage flames with green branches, or contain them within dug pits? Did groups use fire only in specific seasons, when winds lay calmer and grasses dampened by frost? Archaeology offers fragments but not certainty. The unanswered questions remind us that fire is both ally and danger, its power demanding skill as well as courage. At planetary scale, fire reshapes environments. As glaciers expand and forests retreat, grasslands spread widely. In these open spaces, controlled burning may renew growth, bringing fresh shoots to attract grazing animals. Some researchers argue that early humans used this method to manage herds indirectly. If true, then fire was not only a hunting tool but a form of landscape engineering, one of the first ways humans altered ecosystems on broad scale. The distances over which fire can be seen are immense. A torch raised at night glows across valleys, signaling others kilometers away. A line of burning grass sends columns of smoke visible from horizons. To mammoths, these signals may appear as walls of light and shadow, shifting the routes they follow. To humans, fire becomes a form of communication, silent yet commanding, extending presence across space. Fire also transforms the aftermath of a hunt. Meat from mammoth carcasses, too vast to consume raw, is roasted or boiled in hide-lined pits filled with heated stones. Fat burns in lamps, lighting shelters long into night. Bones charred at the edges reveal marrow roasted within. The ability to cook not only extends food supply, but improves safety, reducing sickness from raw flesh. Fire thus stretches the value of each hunt, ensuring that no part of the mammoth is wasted. One striking site lies at Kostenki in Russia, where large hearths mark repeated occupation. Charcoal and ash layers run deep, showing centuries of fire use in the same place. Here, people returned again and again, bringing down mammoths nearby and cooking their flesh beside glowing pits. The fire was not only a momentary flame, but a tradition tied to the memory of place, renewing human presence in a cycle of smoke and light. At night, fire defines the border between safety and danger. Beyond its glow, darkness hides wolves, lions, and the vast unknown. Within its circle, warmth and light bring calm. Children sleep more easily beside flames. Adults work tools, scrape hides, and plan hunts under the steady flicker. The fire turns night from enemy into companion. In this way, survival itself is tied to sparks kindled from dry grass. A lesser-known detail is the use of glowing embers as medicine. Burned herbs, placed on coals, release smoke that eases breathing or repels insects. Ash mixed with fat may soothe skin wounds. Such practices, though speculative in some cases, are suggested by residues found in hearths. They reveal that fire's role extended into healing, making it not only a tool of hunting, but of health. Still, the mystery of how fire was first controlled lingers. Was it captured from natural flames of lightning strikes, or kindled deliberately by friction and sparks? By the time mammoth hunters roamed the steppe, both methods may have been known, but the moment of first mastery is lost in time, hidden in layers of ash long dispersed by wind. What remains is certainty that once fire was tamed, humanity's path changed forever. Imagine a hunt at dusk. Torches flare, their flames bending in the wind. Hunters form a line, driving mammoths toward a valley where escape narrows. Smoke drifts. Animals shift uneasily, and the giants move as the humans intend. When spears fly, fire has already done its part, guiding the herd into reach. Later, as the night deepens, the same fire roasts meat, warms hands, and lights stories told until sleep. In this way, fire at the edge of night is both weapon and companion. It shapes hunts, sustains bodies, and eases fear. It is fragile, needing constant care, yet powerful, altering landscapes and destinies. On the mammoth steppe, where cold and darkness dominate, fire is humanity's quiet answer. It extends the day, guides the hunt, and burns at the center of every camp, a living heart carried through time. Across the frozen plains, the mammoth is more than prey. Its size, its strength, and the resources it provides make it central to human life. But scattered evidence suggests another layer of meaning, ritual, memory, and respect. The bones left behind are not always arranged by chance. Tusks and skulls sometimes form circles or lines. Figurines carved from ivory carry shapes of animals or humans. Such traces hint that the hunt held significance beyond survival. At several sites in Eastern Europe, archaeologists have uncovered rings of mammoth bones. Some circles seem to have served as dwelling foundations, practical walls against wind, but others contain arrangements too deliberate, with skulls or tusks placed in patterns that appear symbolic. Were these shelters, shrines, or both? The question remains open. What is certain is that humans invested effort in shaping bones into forms that outlasted the hunt itself. One striking example lies at Mezherych in Ukraine. Here, mammoth bones form structures with entrances aligned to the setting sun. Within them, hearths glow dark in the soil, and ivory beads lie scattered. The precision suggests more than chance. It suggests planning, meaning, and perhaps ceremony. Living and ritual may have blended, the boundaries unclear. To survive in the Ice Age meant not only to endure, but to find meaning in endurance. Lesser-known discoveries include carved figurines made of mammoth ivory. Some depict animals, mammoths, lions, or birds, etched with care. Others show human forms, sometimes abstract, sometimes detailed. The famous Venus figures, found across Europe, are often carved from mammoth tusk. These objects raise questions. Were they charms, symbols of fertility, or tokens carried on journeys? Whatever their role, they show that mammoth ivory carried more than practical use. It was also a medium for thought, memory, and belief. The presence of red ochre in some sites adds to this picture. Ochre, a mineral pigment, appears sprinkled over bones or scattered in hearths. Its use is mysterious, perhaps marking ritual, perhaps decoration, perhaps symbolism tied to blood and life. When mammoth bones bear such stains, the hunt becomes more than subsistence. It becomes part of a cycle remembered through color, gesture, and shared experience. Mysteries surround these practices. Did humans see the mammoth as a spirit, ancestor, or teacher? Some scholars suggest rituals honored the animal after the hunt, thanking it for its gift of life. Others believe bones were arranged to communicate with unseen powers, asking for future success. Still others caution that we may never know, for symbols rarely leave clear explanations. Yet the persistence of such patterns across regions hints at a shared thread of respect woven through Ice Age culture. At planetary scale, these echoes connect distant peoples. From Siberia to France, mammoth remains appear in contexts that suggest more than food. Carvings, ochre, and arranged bones appear across thousands of kilometers, though groups never met. Their practices show parallel ideas, born of similar challenges and landscapes. The mammoth thus becomes not only a shared prey, but a shared presence in the human imagination. Across continents, the animal shapes thought as well as survival. The scale of effort in ritual is striking. Moving a single tusk can demand strength equal to several people. Placing dozens into a circle requires planning and cooperation. These acts go beyond utility, for shelters could be built more simply. To invest labor into arrangement suggests that meaning outweighed effort. In a harsh world, time and energy were precious, that they were spent on ceremony signals deep importance. One little-known case lies at the site of Předmostí in the Czech Republic. Here, mammoth bones were discovered not only as food remains but in piles, accompanied by worked ivory objects. Some scholars propose these were offerings, placed deliberately. Others see them as refuse from large communal hunts. The debate continues, but the possibility of ritual cannot be dismissed. If true, these piles are not waste, but echoes of beliefs carried silently across time. The symbolic role of ivory carvings remains one of archaeology's most debated topics. Were the Venus figures used in daily life, or reserved for special events? Were they held by individuals, or shared among groups? At sites where they appear beside hearths, the connection between fire, life, and ivory seems deliberate. The mammoth, in this sense, becomes both material and muse. Its tusks provide the medium for shaping images that reach beyond the immediate world. Ritual may also have marked the passing of hunters themselves. Though rare, burials have been found with mammoth ivory beads or pendants. One child in Sungir, Russia, was laid to rest with thousands of beads carved from ivory. The labor to make such objects is immense, suggesting status, care, or belief in life beyond death. Here, mammoth material carries human meaning, binding people and animals in shared cycles of existence. Imagine a winter evening after a successful hunt. The mammoth lies butchered, meat set aside, fat stored, bones waiting. Around the fire, hunters choose certain tusks, arranging them in the earth. Ochre is sprinkled, ivory carved, fire burning steady. Words, whether sung, spoken, or silent, may honor the fallen giant. Children watch, learning gestures whose full meaning they may not yet grasp. The ritual ensures that memory of the hunt becomes more than food. It becomes part of identity. The echoes of ritual carry forward in art. Cave walls in France and Spain bear painted mammoths, drawn with sweeping tusks and heavy bodies. Some figures stand alone, others mingle with bison or horses. The act of painting in deep caves, lit only by torchlight, suggests ceremony. The mammoth here is not prey alone, but a being worthy of depiction in sacred space. These paintings endure for tens of thousands of years, silent witnesses to respect carried in pigment and gesture. Still, mysteries surround the motives. Did rituals seek to ensure success in future hunts, to honor the spirit of the animal, or simply to bind communities together? No single answer is certain. Perhaps all these roles intertwined, as practical, spiritual, and social needs blended seamlessly. In the Ice Age, survival and meaning were not separate. They were one. The echoes of ritual and respect reveal another side of human life. Beyond spears and shelters, there is reverence. Beyond food and fire, there is memory. The mammoth, in its size and power, inspired not only hunts, but ceremonies, stories, and symbols. Its bones and tusks remain in the earth, arranged by ancient hands, speaking faintly across millennia. In these echoes, we hear that survival was never only physical. It was also shaped by belief, by ritual, and by the quiet respect given to giants of the steppe. On the open plains of the Ice Age, wood is scarce. Trees retreat southward as glaciers advance, leaving little timber on the frozen steppe. Yet humans still need shelter. Walls against the wind, frames for hides, and roots strong enough to resist storms. The answer lies not in forests, but in the remains of the very animals they hunt. Bones of mammoths, vast, heavy, and enduring, become the pillars of human homes. Archaeological sites across Eastern Europe and Siberia reveal this ingenuity. Circles of mammoth bones mark the outlines of dwellings, some several meters across. Tusks form arches, ribs serve as supports, and skulls anchor corners. Over these frames, hides are stretched, creating insulated walls. Inside, hearths burn at the center, their warmth radiating against ivory and bone. The result is a shelter both durable and symbolic, built from the very creatures that sustain life. The settlement at Mezherych in Ukraine is among the most famous here. 4 large huts constructed of mammoth bones were discovered, dating back around 15,000 years. Each structure used hundreds of bones, carefully placed to form stable walls. Entrances faced prevailing winds in ways that suggest planning, not chance. Around the huts, pits contained food remains, tools, and ivory ornaments. The dwellings show that mammoth hunting was not only about meat, but about material for enduring homes. Another striking example lies at Kostenki on the Don River. Here, mammoth bone houses appear alongside carved ivory objects and figurines. The structures stand near hearths where ash accumulated over centuries. The combination of shelter, art, and fire suggests that these sites were more than temporary camps. They were hubs of social and cultural life. Mammoth bones, in this sense, provided not only physical walls but the foundation for community. One lesser-known detail lies in the choice of bones. Not all were used at random. Some huts show careful pairing of tusks, set symmetrically to form arches. Others include skulls placed deliberately at entrances, perhaps as markers of strength or protection. Such choices imply aesthetic or symbolic thought, not mere practicality. The mammoth's remains became not just material, but architecture imbued with meaning. Yet mysteries remain. Did humans collect bones from long-dead carcasses, or did they use remains from animals they themselves hunted? In some sites, bones appear weathered, suggesting gathering over years. In others, fresh cut marks indicate use of newly hunted animals. The balance between scavenging and deliberate procurement is still debated. What is clear is that immense effort went into transporting and arranging such heavy materials. Some tusks weigh more than 50 kilograms, far beyond what one person could easily carry. The work demanded cooperation, patience, and planning. At planetary scale, these shelters reveal how humans adapt to environments where resources are limited. In forests, wood serves as structure. In tundra, snow forms igloos. On the mammoth steppe, bones replace trees. Each landscape requires new strategies, and humans demonstrate flexibility across continents. The use of mammoth remains is one of the clearest examples of turning environment into opportunity. The scale of these houses is impressive. Some measure more than 5 meters across, enough to shelter entire families. Multiple dwellings form clusters, resembling small villages on the plains. Inside, evidence of repeated occupation appears, layers of ash, broken tools, and ornaments. Generations may have lived within the same walls, repairing hides, adding new bones, and renewing hearths. These were not fleeting shelters, but lasting homes, standing season after season. One remarkable discovery at Measureich included the reuse of tusks for tools within the houses. A tusk carved into a container held ochre, perhaps for decoration or ritual. Another tusk, polished smooth, may have served as anvil for flint knapping. The dwellings thus became workshops as well as homes, places where bones framed both protection and production. Imagine the work of construction. Hunters return from the plains with tusks and ribs dragged behind. At camp, groups raise the bones into place, leaning them together to form walls. Children help scrape hides, stretching them over the frame. Inside, a fire is lit, smoke curling upward through a gap left for ventilation. The shelter glows with warmth, ivory shining in flicker of flames. Against the howl of winter winds, the house stands firm, a monument to cooperation and ingenuity. Lesser-known details also suggest decoration. Some bones bear etched lines or carved patterns, too regular to be accidental. These marks may have been symbolic, perhaps tied to ritual or identity. Others show wear from scraping or polishing, signs that people not only built with bones but also shaped them into art within their homes. In this way, the Mammoth House becomes more than structure. It becomes canvas for expression. Still, questions endure. Were these bone houses occupied year-round, or only in harsh winters? Did groups return to the same structures across generations, or did they build new ones each season? The archaeological record shows both possibilities. Some sites reveal long use, with layers of ash and tools suggesting decades of habitation. Others appear temporary, perhaps seasonal camps used only during migration stops. The flexibility of human life means both answers may be true, varying by region and need. At planetary scale, these shelters speak of human capacity to reshape materials into stability. Where giants once roamed, their remains stand as homes for those who hunted them. The relationship between species becomes more than predator and prey. It becomes architectural, cultural, and enduring. Even in death, mammoths shape the way humans live on the steppe. The distances over which bones were moved also astonish. Some tusks traveled kilometers from kill sites to dwellings. Drag marks in soil suggest sledging or hauling, a task requiring many hands. The effort reflects not only necessity but determination, for bones could weigh as much as the hunters themselves. Each journey of transport transformed landscape into village, binding human life more closely to mammoth remains. In the quiet of night, the bone house glows with firelight. Shadows play across curved tusks, rib arcs, and skulls set in place. Within, families sleep, wrapped in hides, safe from wind and predators. The walls are silent, yet they hold echoes of the plains, the thunder of herds, the power of giants now turned to shelter. Each dwelling is both grave and home, memory and refuge. Thus, bones become more than remnants. They are the foundations of survival, the frames of homes, and the markers of ingenuity. Through them, humans transform the remains of giants into havens of warmth and community. In every tusk set upright, in every rib leaned to frame, there is evidence of adaptation and resilience. The mammoth gives life not only in flesh but in shelter, shaping the way humans endure on the frozen steppe. The Ice Age steppe is a place of extremes. Winters last long. Winds scour the plains, and food often grows scarce. In such a world, the survival of human groups depends on one animal above all, the mammoth. Its meat, fat, and marrow provide nourishment far beyond what smaller game can offer. When a mammoth falls, and it feeds not only a band of hunters, but entire communities through months of cold. The carcass of a mammoth is immense. A full-grown animal may yield several tons of meat. Butchery is a massive undertaking, requiring coordinated effort and careful planning. Flint blades slice through hide thicker than a man's hand. Stone scrapers separate fat from muscle. Bone tools pry joints apart. Every part of the animal is valued, and none is wasted. The process may last days. Fires burning constantly nearby to preserve portions through smoking or drying. Archaeological sites reveal the traces of this work. At Przedmosty in the Czech Republic, mammoth bones lie in heaps, cut-marked and split. At Dolní Věstonice, piles of ribs and skull fragments mark places of butchery. At Yana in Siberia, preserved in frozen ground, ivory points and cut bones tell of processing in sub-zero temperatures. In each case, the pattern is clear. Humans invested time and labor to harvest every possible resource. The mammoth was not only food for a day, it was life for a season. The fat of the mammoth is especially prized, rich and dense. It burns brightly when added to lamps, giving light through long nights. It also provides calories needed to endure freezing conditions. Stored in skins or bones, fat could be carried across migrations. Without it, even the best cuts of lean meat would not sustain hunters through the cold. Fat is energy, warmth, and light combined, a resource as vital as any tool. Marrow from bones adds to this supply. Long bones are split with hammerstones, releasing rich stores hidden inside. Archaeologists often find bones cracked in systematic ways, showing deliberate extraction. Even young children may have joined in this task, learning to strike bone on stone until marrow flowed. The practice reveals both efficiency and knowledge, a determination that nothing go to waste. One lesser-known detail lies in the discovery of meat caches, frozen in permafrost. At some Siberian sites, mammoth remains show cut marks but also evidence of storage. Hunters may have left portions in frozen ground, returning later to retrieve them. This natural refrigeration allowed preservation across months, extending the usefulness of each kill. It shows not only survival but foresight, using the cold itself as partner in endurance. Yet mysteries remain. How did humans manage to process such large carcasses before spoilage set in? Some scholars argue that groups returned repeatedly to a kill, consuming gradually while predators scavenged the rest. Others suggest smoking and drying meat at large fires, transforming it into lighter, longer-lasting food. The truth may differ by region and season, depending on temperature, resources, and time. What is certain is that mammoth meat could not be eaten all at once. Its preservation was as critical as the hunt itself. On the planetary scale, the use of mammoths as food links humans to climate cycles. During glacial peak, and when smaller game grew scarce, mammoth hunts became even more essential. In milder interglacials, when forests spread, diets broadened, but mammoths remained central. The rise and fall of ice thus dictated not only where humans traveled, but what they ate. The mammoth, standing against snow and wind, became a bridge through the hardest winters. The scale of sustenance is astonishing. A single mammoth could provide more than 300 kilograms of fat alone. This amount is enough to supply dozens of people for weeks. When combined with meat and marrow, the kill represents survival equivalent to hundreds of reindeer. The comparison highlights why mammoths remained targets despite the risks. The reward was immense, the difference between hunger and endurance. Archaeological sites also reveal evidence of cooking: burned bone fragments, charred meat residues, and blackened stones mark hearths where mammoth flesh was roasted. In some cases, pits lined with hides and filled with heated stones may have served as boiling vessels. The act of cooking not only made meat safer but more digestible, unlocking energy. Even marrow, when roasted, yields richer taste and nourishment. Fire transformed raw mass into sustenance, extending what nature provided. The cultural dimension of food also appears. Ivory beads and figurines are sometimes found among butchered remains, suggesting that processing carried ritual meaning. Sharing meat in winter may have been more than practical. It may have been ceremonial, binding groups together. To sit in a circle, dividing pieces of mammoth flesh, is to reaffirm community. Every meal becomes an act of survival shared, a memory passed from one season to the next. Lesser-known evidence shows selective use of organs. Skulls are often split to access brains, a rich source of fat. Tongues, large and heavy, may have been prized delicacies. Stomachs could serve as containers, cleaned and dried for later use. Such details remind us that the mammoth was not consumed in fragments but in entirety, each part valued in unique ways. Still, mysteries linger about storage and distribution. Did groups share mammoth meat beyond their immediate families? Some evidence suggests large communal feasts, where multiple bands gathered to consume together. Others argue that distribution followed strict rules, with certain portions reserved for elders or skilled hunters. The truth remains uncertain, but the pattern of cut marks and fire traces shows that food always circled back into community life.
Imagine a frozen evening after a kill. The mammoth lies dismantled, its flesh cut into slabs, its bones split for marrow. Hunters sit by the fire, roasting pieces on wooden spits. Children taste fat dripping onto embers, while elders chew marrow-rich fragments. Nearby, other portions are hung on racks to dry in the cold wind. The smell of smoke and meat fills the camp, a promise that the long winter can be endured.
At planetary scale, this scene repeats across continents. In Europe, Asia, and Siberia, groups use mammoth meat to bridge the harshest months. In each place, the principle remains: one kill sustains many. The animal becomes a storehouse of calories, light, and warmth, drawn into human life again and again. Its presence defines not only survival, but the rhythm of seasons, the difference between despair and endurance. Thus, mammoth meat and fat stand at the center of Ice Age survival. They are food, fuel, and light. They are stored, cooked, and shared. They carry mystery in their preservation, ritual in their division, and power in their sheer abundance. On the mammoth steppe, where cold presses unrelentingly. These gifts mean life. In every flake of marrow, in every lamp burning with fat, in every winter endured, the echo of the mammoth remains. Across the mammoth steppe, time smooths most traces of life. Winds scatter bones, rivers carry away ash, and ice buries footprints. Yet some marks endure, pressed into soil and stone, waiting to be uncovered tens of thousands of years later. Through these fragile remains, archaeologists piece together the story of how humans hunted, butchered, and lived alongside mammoths. The earth itself holds the memory of their encounters. Kill sites are among the most telling. In places like Dolny Vestonice, Przedmosti, and Mezhirich, great accumulations of mammoth bones reveal repeated hunting and processing. Cut marks etched by stone blades run across ribs, vertebrae, and tusks. Breaks in long bones show deliberate splitting for marrow. Clusters of flint flakes and broken spear points lie nearby, silent witnesses of struggle and effort. Each site is a frozen snapshot, a scene where survival and danger met in equal measure. The details are precise. A rib scored at the same angle again and again shows the hand of someone scraping meat with care. A tusk split lengthwise reveals ivory harvested for tools. Even tiny nicks on bones speak volumes, evidence of hesitation, practice, or repeated strikes. To archaeologists, these marks are not random scratches, but the signatures of hunters whose names are lost, yet whose labor endures in the earth. Footprints add another layer of memory. At White Sands in New Mexico, human tracks preserved in ancient mud mingle with those of mammoths. Though far from Eurasia, the story is the same. Humans and giants moving across the same land, paths overlapping in fragile prints. In Europe, too, occasional footprints survive, hardened into sediment. Children's steps appear beside adults, revealing the presence of families at hunting grounds. These prints capture moments no artifact can. A walk across wet earth, a pause in mud, a fleeting trace that endures millennia. One lesser-known detail lies in the discovery of tool caches buried near kill zones. At some sites, blades and points are found grouped together in pits, covered by soil. Perhaps they were stored for future hunts, or perhaps they marked the memory of the kill itself. Some archaeologists suggest they were offerings, placed deliberately with the bones of mammoths as part of ritual practice. Whatever their meaning, these caches show that humans shaped the earth intentionally, leaving behind patterns more complex than chance. Mysteries remain about how to read these marks. Are large bone piles evidence of deliberate drives, or do they represent accumulations over centuries? Did scattered tools signal chaos of hunting or careful organization of butchery? Did footprints reflect a single day, or were they pressed at different times, played mingled by water and wind? Archaeology offers clues but rarely certainty. Each interpretation must balance between chance and intention, between natural forces and human design. On the planetary scale, these traces reveal the spread of humanity across continents. Wherever mammoth bones lie with human tools, we see the reach of people into new frontiers. Europe, Siberia, and eventually the Americas all bear such marks. The similarity of evidence, cut bones, hearths, caches, shows that though groups were separated by vast distances, they relied on parallel strategies. The Earth preserves a global story, connecting far-flung landscapes through shared survival. The scale of effort recorded in these sites is immense. At Dolní Věstonice, remains of hundreds of mammoths appear, representing repeated hunts over generations. The labor of butchering so many animals is difficult to imagine. The marks left on bones are therefore not only evidence of meals, but of immense cooperative undertakings. Each cut line is a reminder of bodies bent over flesh, hands gripping flint, fire crackling nearby. The earth beneath preserves both the weight of the animal and the persistence of human labor. Hearths too leave their mark, charcoal stains soil dark, even when the flames themselves vanished millennia ago. Layers of ash build up over centuries, one fire after another, forming black bands in sediment. In these hearths, bones sometimes appear burned, perhaps for fuel when wood was scarce. The ground thus holds memory not only of hunts, but of warmth, light, and the daily rhythm of life. Lesser-known evidence also comes from microtracing. Microscopic fragments of plant ash, bone fat residues, and even pollen cling to soil layers. From these, researchers reconstruct what fires burned, what food was cooked, and what season a site was occupied. Such details may seem small, yet together they transform a scatter of bones into a living scene. The earth, when read closely, speaks in whispers of meals, seasons, and journeys. Still, mysteries surround the absence of evidence. Many sites may once have existed, but were erased by floods, erosion, or ice. For every preserved kill zone, countless others are gone. The record is uneven, shaped by chance as much as by history. This unevenness reminds us that what we know of mammoth hunting is fragmentary. The earth remembers, but only in scattered places where conditions froze time. Imagine walking across a modern field and seeing nothing unusual, yet beneath the soil, bones lie cut and cracked, flakes of flint rest buried, and ash still colors the ground. Only careful excavation reveals the truth. The landscape itself is an archive, preserving human stories where no words were written. Every scrape on bone, every footprint in mud is a line in that silent history. At planetary scale, these marks show continuity across time. Tens of thousands of years separate early hunts from later ones, yet the evidence looks strikingly similar. Cut marks, hearths, footprints, caches, these motifs repeat again and again. Human life changes but the need to hunt, butcher, and remember leaves the same impressions. The earth thus carries not only isolated events, but patterns of survival stretching across millennia. The distances preserved in footprints also reveal scale. At White Sands, human tracks stretch for more than a kilometre, pacing alongside mammoth prints. The effort of the walk, the rhythm of steps, is captured in hardened earth. It is as though the landscape itself recorded the journey, holding memory of pursuit. Such long traces remind us that hunting was not a moment, but a process, unfolding across hours and terrain. In the quiet of excavation, archaeologists uncover these ancient marks: a rib with cut lines, a hearth with charcoal, a footprint pressed in clay. Each discovery is small, yet together they reconstruct worlds. The marks left in the earth reveal how fragile beings met giants, how survival pressed itself into soil and stone. Though the people are gone, their gestures remain, written in Earth's memory. Thus, the mammoth step still speaks not through voices, but through bones, tools, and prints. The marks left in the earth tell of hunts and meals, of firelight and footsteps. They are silent, yet eloquent, reminders that long before history was written, the land itself was the page, and on that page mammoths and humans left traces intertwined, enduring through time. For tens of thousands of years, mammoths walk the frozen plains in vast herds. They graze alongside bison, horses, and reindeer, shaping the land with their heavy steps. Yet by the end of the Ice Age, their thunder fades. The great animals vanish from most continents, leaving only scattered populations on remote islands. Why they disappeared remains one of prehistory's enduring questions. The debate continues, carried in bones, climate records, and fragments of ivory preserved in earth. Two great forces stand at the center of the mystery: climate change and human hunting. Around 12,000 years ago, the Ice Age began to loosen its grip. Glaciers retreated, temperatures warmed, and ecosystems shifted rapidly. The mammoth steppe, once stretching from Europe to North America, shrank as forests spread northward. Grasslands that had supported herds gave way to woodland, less suited to giants that thrived on open space. The environment that sustained them dwindled, pressing mammoths into smaller ranges. At the same time, humans grew in number and reach. Stone tools grew sharper, hunting strategies more refined, and cooperation more complex. Bands spread across continents, entering new valleys, rivers, and plains once dominated only by animals. Wherever mammoths roamed, human traces soon followed: cut-marked bones, hearths, and campsites. The overlap is too close to ignore, suggesting that hunting placed additional pressure on herds already struggling with shrinking habitats. Archaeological evidence of butchery supports this view. At sites in Siberia, North America, and Europe, mammoth bones show repeated cuts, breaks, and embedded spear points. Some sites reveal not just isolated kills, but large accumulations, suggesting organized hunts. In a few places, herds appear to have been taken at once, their bones clustered in ravines or along rivers. The scale of such events raises the possibility that human hunting could have had significant impact, especially as populations of mammoths dwindled. A lesser-known detail complicates the story. On Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean, a small population of mammoths survived until just 4,000 years ago, long after mainland herds were gone. Here, isolated from large-scale human hunting, they persisted in a unique environment, and yet even these mammoths eventually vanished, their disappearance linked not only to humans, but to genetic decline and resource limitations. The survival of Wrangel's herd shows that extinction was not a simple process. Different populations followed different paths, shaped by local conditions. Still, many mysteries remain. Did humans actively drive mammoths to extinction, or did they merely hasten a process already set in motion by climate? Some researchers argue for the overkill hypothesis, suggesting that hunting pressure, even at low levels, was enough to collapse populations weakened by environmental change. Others believe climate was the primary force, with humans playing only a supporting role. The evidence does not allow a single clear answer, and perhaps the truth lies in the combination of both forces. At planetary scale, the disappearance of mammoths mirrors the extinction of many other large animals: giant ground sloths, saber